Welcome to Center State CEO's semi-monthly podcast, Talk CNY, presented by NBT Bank.
On Talk CNY, you get an inside look at the people, projects, and planning moving Central New York forward.
I'm Andrew Fish, Senior Vice President of Member and Business Experience at Center State CEO, Central New York's leading business leadership and economic development organization.
And I'm Kate Hammer, Business Coach and Member at Center State CEO. We are your hosts for Talk CNY. Take a moment right now to subscribe in your listening app for new episodes every other Wednesday.
And I feel that's really lucky as a resident of Central New York, both to work for the company, but also that this is the company that is coming to make this investment here. It's not only going to be a chip plant that's going to lead the world in memory technology, but we want to be a community partner.
On this episode of Talk CNY, we talk with Joe Nehme, Senior Manager of External Affairs for Micron Technology, on the anniversary of the company's historic announcement of building a megafab in Central New York. Welcome, Joe. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Andrew and Kate. I'm excited to be here.
Joe, you are Micron's first hire here in Central New York. Now, I know you're not new to the project, but tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, that makes me sound a little bit more important than I am. But yeah, I am one of the first employees on the ground, the first employee on the ground for Micron. I'm a lifelong Central New Yorker. I grew up in Utica, New York, went to Syracuse University, and then stayed here for an opportunity to work with Senator Schumer, which led me to this opportunity. But I'm so excited about the ability to advocate for Central New York with Micron. There's a lot of work to do, but I'm excited and proud of the region and looking forward to seeing this project come to fruition.
Yeah, now, I know there has been a little bit of skepticism, or maybe a lot, in the community about, the timeline, how long it's been taking. Is this project really happening? And so we'd love if you could speak to us a little bit about what milestones have happened that maybe people aren't aware of.
Yeah, and as I said in the opening, I am a lifelong Central New Yorker, and skepticism sometimes is in our DNA.
Isn't it though?
And it's warranted though. Our former manufacturing and economic might, we read about it in the history books. We hear about it when we talk to older generations. We see it when we drive by abandoned factories. So it's warranted, and I think it's incumbent on the company and Micron to kind of continue to take actions that chip away at that skepticism, and we're doing that. Recently we've submitted our Chips and Science Act application for funding. That process is going really well. We're going to continue to work with the CHIPS program office on that process. On the environmental reviews and site preparation, a lot of things are happening. The Onondaga County Industrial Development Agency recently declared lead agency. We obviously very publicly, folks have seen the actions on the Community Engagement Committee, which will help guide our $500 million community investment. We're in the process of doing focus groups across the community to get feedback on where that goes. And obviously on workforce, we've set up two committees, Future Ready Workforce Consortium that focuses on non-traditional pathways, as well as the Northeast Semiconductor Network that focuses on traditional pathways. So as I say to people, it's like the duck furiously pedaling their legs underneath the water, but calm on top. There's a lot of work going on, and we hope every single step of the process, people are going to see this is the real deal.
It's great. Joe, it's very obvious to me, but maybe not to others, that since the beginning, this isn't just a project that is happening to Central New York. Micron is not just looking at this and saying, all right, you guys figure out the rest. We're coming in and we're gonna set this up. You mentioned the $500 million community investment framework and the community engagement committee. This is a huge commitment. Can you tell us a little bit about what's happening there, how that investment's playing out? You mentioned the focus group. What else is happening to ensure that work continues?
Yeah. So very early on in the process, before I ever worked for Micron, Rob Simpson at Center State CEO in one of our conversations said, throughout the recruitment process, this is the company we want. This is the deal we want. These are the folks we want to be here. And that had a lot to do with their values, aligning with our community values on diversity and inclusion and opportunity and sustainability on the environment and things alike. So as part of the agreement, and it really is an unprecedented thing.
First of its kind.
First of its kind. So we're building an airplane in midair, but really a $500 million investment that will ensure, outside of what's the investment that's happening at the site, ensure that the community is going to benefit and that Micron is doing its part can't solve all the problems
Sure.
of Central New York, but it's doing its part to chip away and focus on things like workforce, housing, childcare, and other community-focused investments to ensure that this project lifts every part of the community up. We have I think there's 15 members of the community engagement committee. I'm a ex officio member on behalf of Micron because I'm here and I'm local and I could come to the meetings. But it's led by Melanie Littlejohn and Tim Penix, as well as a whole host of other community leaders. And the goal really is for the community members to help tell us where we should prioritize that investment. Where are the needs? And then throughout the process, as the members sort of be ambassadors in the community to go and reach deep into the community and hear from folks, so that when we do decide where this money goes, that we know that the community had a say in that and helped guide that, and that their input mattered. So, I would encourage everyone listening to go out and fill out the survey that's on the website. Put your inputs in. We're not at the stage right now where folks are applying for projects, but get your inputs in there. Come to our public meetings, come to the focus groups, and share your feedback, because we're really looking for it.
That's great. Yeah, I was going to make sure to mention that survey still open, looking for that input, understanding, making sure we know where those challenges are. So
Yeah, let's put those in the show notes so we can make sure people can find the
Yes.
link easily.
absolutely.
Get it done. Love that. For those not keeping track, we are exactly a year from the historic announcement that Micron is, in fact, coming. And this is a thing. And you were very heavily involved in the whole recruiting process. Can you tell us a little bit about what that was like, and then also what it felt like when it was finally official?
Yeah. Well, there was a lot of people that worked a lot harder and a lot longer than I, but I was very involved throughout the process, there from the very beginning. It actually started for me around 3 years ago, around this time, in conversations with County Executive Ryan McMahon. We were speaking a lot at the time, and my role was Senator Schumer. We were at the height of the pandemic, so speaking frequently to kind of solve problems around the pandemic. But at the time, our over-reliance on semiconductors of foreign supply sort of was thrusted into the forefront of national dialogue, and Senator Schumer at the time, a long priority of his, started talking publicly for the first time about a national investment around semiconductors. So in conversations with Ryan, he said, that bill your boss is pushing, it can help us. And I said, tell me more. So from there were so many critical moments in the process. Obviously the county's work in making the site what it was, that it can attract a large-scale semiconductor manufacturer. Governor Hochul and the Green Chips legislation, as well as Senator Schumer and the Chips and Science legislation, and the work with our partners at Center State to really put our best foot forward as a community. But there's really one moment that really stands out to me throughout the process as a moment that we didn't necessarily know that it was going to be us, but that we knew we really had a shot. And that was a trip from senior level executives from Micron that came to Central New York on a visit to learn about the community. And with the help of Center State and some of our partners in the community, we really knew we had one opportunity to show Micron, hey, we are the partners you need. This is going to be a long, hard process, and this is unprecedented, but we are the partners that are going to help you get this across the finish line. And quite frankly, we knocked it out of the park. There was a moment, obviously there was a lot of different things. One of the things that really was a great moment that day was, and I remember it vividly in my mind, we had all the leaders from every key higher education institution from upstate New York, sitting at a table together at Syracuse University, sharing how the networks and the infrastructure that we had here in New York that can help Micron fill its workforce and be a partner that they knew they could rely on. And there were so many other moments from those few days that really stuck out, but that was the moment I think we all knew, we showed how hungry we were. We showed how reliable we can be. And again, I said it before, we really knocked it out of the park that day.
Yeah, it was phenomenal to see and to help set up that day, and culminating, of course, in the now infamous dinner with the executives and the governor, and people just kind of leaving there thinking to themselves, wow, this is real. This is an opportunity that could hit. Obviously you'd mentioned that the Chips and Science Act, critical to this project. What about that legislation is so groundbreaking, and why was it so critical to this project?
Yeah, and I got a chance, obviously, in my time with Senator Schumer. That had been a priority of his for a very long time. And as I said, the pandemic kind of exposed the need for it, both to reshore domestic semiconductor manufacturing as well as protect our national security supply chains. And, we at Micron really believe we are the poster child for the legislation. And we wouldn't be here today without it. It was critical in order for not only Micron, but other semiconductor companies across the country frequently said, in order for the U.S. to really reassert its dominance in the semiconductor industry and shore up our national security, this legislation was needed. So we're really excited about it. It's going to be a continuing process that we're working through at the federal level, and we're hopeful that we're gonna be able to reap the benefits of it.
That's great. Well, we'll be right back to continue our conversation with Joe Nehme, Senior Manager of External Affairs at Micron Technology. But first, here's a note from our presenting sponsor of Talk CNY, NBT Bank.
Every day at NBT Bank, we focus our business around all the ways we can help yours. We're large enough to offer leading business and digital solutions, but local enough to ensure personalized one-on-one service. So turn to NBT Bank for a full range of business solutions, like capital and treasury management services, even fraud protection, and see how NBT Bank is just the right size to help you do big things. Visit nbtbank.com to learn more and start a conversation. Equal housing lender, member FDIC.
This is Talk CNY, and we are continuing our conversation with Joe Nehme, Senior Manager of External Affairs for Micron Technology.
So, Joe, you recently were a speaker for Center State CEO at our Leadership Lessons event, which you did a fantastic job.
Thank you.
Thank you. What a lineup we had there. For those that maybe haven't seen it yet, you can find it on our website and watch the recording. So they can go see your wonderful lessons that you bestowed upon us. But how has this project shaped your leadership values?
Yeah, I think that, first of all, it was an amazing event. I think it provides a glimpse into, people open themselves up a little bit when they talk about those things, and you learn about their values and what makes them tick. And it was a reminder, not obviously the lineup was amazing, but the talent and the leadership that we have throughout our entire community. And, my sort of message, and all of us really that spoke that day, the message was everyone touched on others, right? Because you could only be as good of a leader as the feeling that you're instilling in others and how you're getting others to follow you. And I think that, my own perspective of not necessarily having to be a senior member of an organization, but really just showing people how much you care about your own responsibilities and role. And I think I'm using that principle every day with this project. In many respects, I'm a voice on the ground for the project, and I want people to know how important it is to me personally, but I also see how important it is to the community. And that gives me the energy and the inspiration to get up every day and to because look, this project, as well as everyone's jobs in their personal and professional life, stuff's hard, right? The challenges are hard, stakes are high, all that stuff. And so when you know that everyone else cares as much as you do, it kind of gives you the motivation to keep going. And this project specifically, it really is going to take every ounce of this community to be successful. So we need to draw inspiration from one another, and we can do that by just really working hard at our own roles and taking it really seriously, treating others with respect and compassion, and empowering others. I think we're up for the challenge. I know we're up for the challenge.
Absolutely. It really is so significant. And I know just from interacting with you and working with you how much you care. And it is such an amazing thing for me to see. I've been doing economic development now for over 14 years in this community. And this is unique. This is different, not just because of the size and scale. It really is being approached in a different manner. You're seeing that on the inside too, I presume. What can you share kind of about that part of the experience for you?
Yeah, I mean, I obviously have been a part of the project for a long time and believed in the project, but I feel I feel as confident as I've ever felt about it since I've been sort of working with the company. You assume, you hear Micron Technology, it's a technology company. They manufacture semiconductors, leading edge, some of the most advanced products in the world. We're a leader in the memory space. But I've been just heartened to see everything else at the company that's happening parallel to the technology side of things. For example, Dr. Robert Simmons, who I'm sure many people in the community have known, he's the head of social impact at Micron. And, we've been going across the community doing these chip camps.
Yeah.
Because we want people kids in the community, particularly young children, to be passionate about the technology, to know its importance, and to believe that there's a career out there for them in it. And so like those type of social impact actions that we are taking are so exciting, and I feel that's really lucky as a resident of Central New York, both to work for the company, but also that this is the company that is coming to make this investment here. It's not only going to be a chip plant that's going to lead the world in memory technology, but we want to be a community partner. We want to lift everyone up along with us, and those actions and those commitments to community have been happening over the past year, and they're going to continue to happen as long as we're around. So,
Joe, we just have one last question for you, and that is, what's next for Micron in Central New York?
Yeah, so we're a year in. As I said, a lot of the focus now is around CHIPS and Science Act funding from the federal government, as well as site preparation and environmental reviews. So I think if there's one message that I want to leave with folks is if you don't see things happening, that doesn't mean that we're not working diligently. We have an amazing team that's working on site development and site preparation that are working 12-hour days and making sure that the site is ready for this massive investment. So there's a lot of work to be done on that side of things that folks might not see, but that are really making strides and moving forward. And then obviously another, continuing to engage the community, particularly through the Community Engagement Committee. We really want people to come out and tell us how they, their thoughts and feelings. We really want to encourage people to use the community engagement process, to give their feedback, to tell us their priorities, and to help guide where we go with our investments here in Central New York. And then definitely on the workforce piece, we have some great partners in higher education, in K through 12 school districts, at Center State CEO, at MACNY, that are going to really help us ensure that we're creating a talent pipeline. So for those that are interested in opportunities, please stay engaged. Reach out to me directly, answer questions. The other thing I want to highlight on that we haven't talked about today is Micron has a strong commitment to diverse suppliers and contractors. We have a 30% commitment for socially economic disadvantaged groups for our contracting for the project. So, stay engaged. We're very early in the process right now in terms of making decisions on suppliers of that nature, but we have a portal on our website that suppliers who are interested in doing business with the company can get their information into, and will be notified of updates coming forward. So, there's a lot of work to be done, but as I said back to that meeting, where the senior executives came here in 2022, I feel passionately that we are the community and we are the partners that can help get this project across the finish line. And I know from being on the inside with Micron that they feel the same way. So stay engaged and keep up the faith.
Yeah, that feels good to hear.
I love that. And to put a finer point, I love that you brought up the opportunity for procurement for socially economically disadvantaged individuals and businesses in WBE. We're talking about billions of dollars of opportunity there with that 30% commitment.
I'm sorry, Andrew, how many?
Billions of dollars of opportunity there. And you know what I love about that too is it's not just the commitment to making that spend happen during the build, but it's the ongoing commitment to ensure that operational spends year over year are set aside and dedicated for that. And that's the piece for me that really separated Micron, because people may not know this, but we were having conversations with other semiconductor manufacturers for that site. But that's what made Micron the project that we wanted in Central New York. And I think our commitment to those same things is also what had Micron looking at Central New York and saying, this is where we want to be.
It was a match.
100%, Andrew. I couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, Joe, we really appreciate you being on today. More than that, we appreciate the partnership, long-standing with you and with Micron now in your role. And we were thrilled to have you get that opportunity to partner not only with this great company, but with the community that you love. And we look forward to having this conversation maybe again in another year to see where we're at.
I will come back anytime. This was fun, and I appreciate the both of you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Joe.
Center State CEO's podcast, Talk CNY, is presented by NBT Bank and is available on all major podcast platforms.
After each episode, you can join us on Click, where we will continue to chat about this topic and provide additional resources and links.
In Click, you can also listen to or watch every episode in this series of Talk CNY.
Click is Center State CEO's interactive digital chamber platform, where our members connect, learn, and receive support from our staff.
On our next episode, we will have our final quarterly chat with Center State CEO's President Rob Simpson, where he will answer questions submitted by our listeners.
Be on the lookout for your opportunity to submit your questions on Center State CEO's social media platforms. For new episode reminders every other Wednesday, be sure to subscribe in your favorite podcast listening app.
If you're enjoying Talk CNY, consider leaving a quick review or a 5-star rating.